the animation. Cool. So, can we find the right balance? Vega did talk a bit about it yesterday about value exchange and finding the right balance in the ecosystem. And that was a good premise to this talk. I wish I could have spoken after him, but yeah. So the point is, it's pretty stretched field, and is it possible for us to kind of find a middle ground? I mean, Opera is using acceptable ads. AdBlock Plus is using Brave is coming up with your own Brave ads. So people are trying to kind of find a good middle ground. So in this talk, I'll talk about like four sections. One is the prior work that motivated kind of the following work on acceptable ads. What is the current state of bad ads and acceptable ads? How are we studying the acceptable ads, and what are the future goals? That is like kind of something very open to feedback and open to discussion thing as we go ahead. So yeah, coming out to the prior work. So word of mouth is what influences people the most when they go out to choose ad blocking extensions. Any guesses who said that? So this was said by Forbes survey participants in a survey study around like 2016-17, where like more than 60% of the people said that they adopted ad blockers through word of mouth. But there is like a lot of problem with this approach because people differ a lot. They could differ in their financial status. They could differ in the demographics. They could differ in opinions. They could differ in the like political situations, opinions, and stuff. And since people differ a lot, so do their needs. And then word of mouth might not be an optimal way to kind of use it as an extension, as a way to kind of install extensions. I should have done a PDF. Yeah. So okay. And also, what about the state of extensions? So yeah, number one, like when you see about the ad blocker extensions, they don't have a central taxonomy. Like you don't have a single place where you can go and see, okay, what are the user concerns when people are using ad blockers? The other space, the other part is it's a very crowded space where there are like 5 to 6 major players that are operating, competing with each other. So as a user, it gets very confusing as in which extension to install. And the third thing is the online tracking is evolving very quickly, and the ad blockers need to catch up in order to kind of fight the online tracking. So, in order to address these things, we first try to develop a usability and privacy framework for user concerns. And we do that using user reviews from Web Store. In the second part, we kind of identify the gaps in the current evaluation methods, as in like how we measure these user concerns that we identified. And then, like once we have identified the gaps, then we kind of measure them through our own developed systems. This is kind of a flow. I don't want you to get overwhelmed by seeing this. To kind of get the whole gist of it, just try to go to the paper. It's kind of a blended ad here, where you can just read about it. But today we'll just focus on the broad categories, like how we identified it and how this leads to an opinion about acceptable ads. So we are trying to identify the user concerns. And what we do to do that is we have a review crawler that scraps all the reviews from the web store around prominent ad blockers that exist. And then we have we like kind of train a sentiment and analysis classifier that just extracts the critical review data set. And our hypothesis is that people tend to mention things that they don't like in the critical reviews. And then we can extract topics from there to understand the user concerns. Then we do a latent dirichlet allocation and then extract some broader topics. And then these broader topics are refined into 11 broad topics. And then they are clubbed together to generate 5 user concerns. These are the user concerns that we typically identify. We club them into categories like performance, compatibility, effectiveness, etc. And this is where we came across the updates and configuration part, where like acceptable ads comes as a default configuration in a lot of ad blockers and like AdBlock Plus and Opera, for example. and people were like not really happy with it, or in like their experience were not that great with that. So we found that 139 out of 150 reviews said that like they're critical of acceptable ads, and we were trying to like kind of reason about it, as in like, what if they like, is it because they don't like ads? It's There's not much awareness about it. uh some reviews mentioned that the sticky ads made their way to the users, and also there were other like block everything alternative that were existing, so why not just go to there. um but there were some reviews that also mentioned that people want to support the ad economy, and they're fine with seeing targeted ads that we see all the time on like Instagram or Facebook. But it's the poor ad experience that puts them off. So it kind of puts us in a place where we see that people want to filter out some ads, but they do want to see some topics, and they definitely want some autonomy in what they are seeing. Like they want to kind of say that, okay, this ad is not good for me, or this ad is something I like. Uh, and also like lack of awareness in terms of what's pushing them towards switching to more aggressive tools. Is it just the availability of these tools, or is it something uh, lacking about the acceptable ads that's pushing them towards there? So yeah, we'll kind of switch to understanding the current landscape about bad ads and acceptable ads. Yeah, I know the motivation was pretty long for the study, but yeah, so let's talk about what are the bad ads right now. So this was like, I think 3 to 4 years back, where the net was bombarded with these chicken helmets, and people were like asking why I'm being showing that. Like, I live in New York, I should be shown like rat helmets or something. But so people were very confused, as in why are we shown these ads. um and there were a lot of opinion pieces on this, like New York Times covered it in a few places, and then there were like more sort of bad ads that were shown to people. Also, academia has covered bad ads in a lot of kind of places where there was this paper talking about what are bad ads and like user perceptions about bad ads. There was another study about talking about smart, useful, scary, creepy ads, and also about like ads and user perceptions about online news. There are other opinion pieces where people do talk about uh, like how they discover acceptable ads, what they like about acceptable ads or not. There is a whole Hacker News thread where it starts with there are no acceptable ads, and then people like just talk about whether they support it or not. So there's a lot of kind of difference in the opinion that exists. So this was me in early 2024, where I was trying to think, why is this discrepancy existing? And then I was like, okay, maybe the devil is in the content. So to kind of identify, like kind of see that, we'll have to go back to 2004 when there was no chat GPT, housing crisis did not happen then. And there kind of we can try to find some solution to this. So there was this paper in psychology where they try to identify three main reasons for ad annoyance. First is perceived goal impediment, and they try to kind of break down it further as search hindrance, disruption, and distraction. The other one is perceived ad clutter, which is like excessiveness, exclusiveness, irritation, and other one is prior negative experiences. And they said that these three reasons are what like makes people go away from ads, not like ads in general. And acceptable ads sort of like mention or kind of try to solve these problems to some extent, and like the other ones to kind of not that long of an extent. So like for example, people might be dissatisfied with the content, or they might still be irritated with the content of the ads that they are shown. So I think because acceptable ads with their own like current standard right now, or even like coalition for better ads, are not addressing all of these problems. That's why there is still a generic dissatisfaction among the people. Uh, so yeah, uh, how about like we should go around studying these acceptable ads? Okay, my font is like pretty. But yeah, there's this asterisk mark because it's a still ongoing study. We have some preliminary results, but yeah, I'm definitely open to talk more about it. So I'll quickly go over what is acceptable ads. I might feel that most people know about this already, but so these are kind of program that allows ad to people based on distinction and size. The lists contain certain cosmetic rules for ad impressions based on which they allow these ads. There is another kind of consortium called Coalition for Better Ads, which like Google and most big exchanges are part of, and they also lay down like similar rules. And yeah, also acceptable ads collaborates with advertisers and publishers to kind of ensure a good experience. These are kind of how allow lists are arranged, where there are like three types of allow lists. It's restricted, unrestricted, and site keys. Restricted are usually where they're scoped by the website or the cosmetic rule, and unrestricted are like they're applicable to the entire website or all the rules on the page. This is how like kind of a typical ad list kind of flow chart works, where a publisher asks for ad request, an ad response comes in. First, it matches the blocking rules, and then if it also matches the allow list, it kind of goes to the publisher and the ad is shown. Otherwise, it's dropped. So, yeah, sorry. Uh, Yeah. So in order to study acceptable ads, we first need to build a taxonomy in order to kind of define what acceptability is. And the other part is to actually be able to classify ads on the fly. And this is how we can be able to solve this problem um of acceptability. So it's we kind of divide it into a four-step process where we first build the taxonomy. So we do a extensive literature review of like ad exchange policies, academic journals, papers, these opinion pieces, FTC and GDPR policies, and then come up with what does a common community standard exist of. For the second part, we do an ad collection where we collect ads, like acceptable ads, along with normal ads using a web crawler. Then we do a manual annotation based on the definition we created to kind of create an annotated data set to say that, okay, these ads are objectionable, these ads are not. And then we develop an image classifier using that annotated data set to do this classification on the fly. Okay, it's all fine. Yeah, so kind of in our kind of early analysis, we come up with sort of this kind of a taxonomy where we found that these are the different things that all the exchanges or all the kind of regulatory bodies talk about, where we have inappropriate content which people don't like to see. There are like misleading false claims. There are dangerous products that you don't want to see. Then there are a lot of dark patterns in ads. There's regulatory violations, which we'll talk about later, but it consists of age restrictions. Um and then there are user experience based issues where there are disruptive ads, over frequency, like lot of ads, emotional appeals in the ads, which might just put off people. For the ad collection stage, so this is how we arrange it, where we use a puppeteer to crawl the websites, and we do it in 4 different settings, where we have an unauthenticated crawl in the US and then in the Germany to kind of see the GDPR violations. And we also do authenticated crawls to see if age based violations are kind of also respected in the acceptable ads or not, because like all these exchanges have a very robust policy around age. We use below 18, but there are like 2 policies. One is below 16 and below 18, but we focus on below 18 and below like over 18 for now. And then we collect two pools, which is a normal ads pool and an acceptable ads pool. And then we kind of try to see the difference between both the pools and within each pool itself, as in how bad the ads are in each of the pool. And then we kind of generate the annotated ad pool from there. And we try to kind of keep the other factors like browser versions, time, and etc. kind of constant in these crawls. So coming up, like I'll kind of try to show some examples of what we find in the acceptable ads pool, which might kind of put off people. So in the preliminary analysis, we find that we have ads like these, which show sort of fake urgency. We have political propaganda in the ads, which we have seen that people don't like it pretty openly. There are then these false claims, which also kind of puts off people. And then there are these fake celebrity endorsements where when you click on these links, like there's no kind of evidence of actually someone endorsing these products. So examples like these kind of give us an insight that, okay, if people are not happy with the acceptable ad setting, it's maybe because these ads are still getting into the system, and that's why they're like, okay, I don't want to see bad ads, and that's why I'll just stop this altogether. So yeah, this is where we are right now. We are like pretty close to generating the annotated data set and like training an image classifier over it, and we have like many more examples of such stuff. But I would like go on and talk about the future goals from here, as in, okay, let's say we have an image classifier. What next? Is this solution practical? Where should we like place our product in the whole ecosystem? So, talking about, is content moderation by ad blockers practical? And this was something that was picked up yesterday as well in one of the discussions, where like, do you want to do content moderation as an ad blocker? And it's been seen that like even Coalition for Better Ads or Acceptable Ads have like kind of shied away from moderating content because it's subjective, but also it's a hard vision problem. But what if we like narrow down our scope to kind of identify certain topics and not kind of doing this moderation on a generic scale that kind of happens at the exchanges? And also, the second point would be, how can we like, where, if we are actually including this classifier into the ad network, where we should do that? Should it be at the extension level, which would mean that it's a high latency problem, because if the ads get rendered and it's not following the acceptable content definition, you have to ask the exchange to give me another ad. So it's a twice the amount of communication that takes place. If we put it in the ad exchange, there's no user autonomy, and user wants to have autonomy on what kind of content they want to see. Do we want to have a feedback based mechanism where we kind of have this classifier in the exchange and in the extension, and this kind of classifier extract the topics from the ads that get rendered, and then ask the users or prompt the users that okay, these are the ads that were shown to you, and according to you, these are the topics that you don't want to be shown ads in. So are you fine with it? And if the users are not fine with it, it kind of sends a signal to the exchange saying that please don't show the users these ads. And if these exchanges still keep on doing it, we kind of block them, or like put them into the block list and remove them from the allow list, which might kind of give a sense of autonomy to the users. Also, since putting ChatGPT prompts make the presentation interesting, so I try to kind of without any kind of sort of a zero shot thing, where just try to give them some prompts, some ads basically, and see how effective is ChatGPT in kind of identifying the nuances in the images. So this ad kind of seems to be a perfect image. This just doesn't seem to have any problem in it, and that's what ChatGPT also tells. But then there is these ads, which kind of received very negative attention from the people. And there was like a Marlboro ad showing kid, or there was like some sex-based segregation of tasks that were happening. And then ChatGPT kind of had a good record in kind of detecting these. But then there were these ads which were sort of some people found them objectionable. Some people thought that they were in like fine to consume, and like ChatGPT found it to be fine. That there's no problem in that. But then there are these ads which kind of show has some like racial lining to it, and ChatGPT found it to be perfectly fine. So these image classification models also have a lot of bias involved in them, and that's why people have like shied away from using them for doing this classification task. But the idea is that if we can fine tune them on a more like legit database or legitimate database, can we expect a better performance? Yeah, so I'll try to cut it here and open the stage for questions.